Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, small children, gifted woodland animals, welcome once again to Plot Points. It is I, Ben Riggs, coming to you live as the internet can be from an attic on a rather hot day, actually, for spring in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. With me, as always, are my Plot Points compatriots, Brad and Sarah. Say hi, Brad and Sarah.
Hello.
And we also have two special guests with us today. Special guests, could you introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Satine Phoenix.
And I'm Jamison Stone.
So we have a lot of total noobs that listen to the podcast. Could you just explain, who you guys are in the role-playing game industry?
Yeah, so I'm Satine. I am the former community manager of Dungeons and Dragons. I have been live streaming for about 5 years now. I've been running the D&D community in Hollywood, California for 11 years. And before that, I did a web series, and that was a Dungeons and Dragons web series. So basically, I travel the world teaching people how to play games from, like a year old to 80 years old. And I also create events around the world to gather people together so they can make their own podcasts and their own live streams.
Yeah.
And Jamison, what about you? Sorry, go ahead. Jamison.
No worries, man. Yeah. So again, my name is Jamison Stone. I'm a creative writer, storyteller, and the CEO of Apotheosis Studios. And so Apotheosis Studios is basically a big art team, and we get together and we create stories and share games with fellow geeky folks. We're really excited about our upcoming project, which is partnered with my wife Satine. And so we're just excited to play games, make games, and hang out.
All right,
basically, that's what we do.
Lovely segue there. Please tell me about the product that we have you on to talk about.
It's called Sirens, Battle of the Bards. Ooh. It's a 5th edition D&D campaign and setting set in the decadent, artistic city of Salvata.
Yeah, we're really excited. Again, designed for 5th edition, so it's a tabletop role-playing game. And a radically new campaign and setting, focusing again on the Bard class, but you don't have to be a Bard to play this class. We really wanted to kind of describe what would a Bardic city be like. And the history of the city, it was created both by Druids and Bards, and then kind of evolved into primarily a Bardic city of art and culture and extravagance. And so it'll be, I think, a really amazing city for people, players, whether from a pre-existing campaign or to roll new characters, to have a really compelling and unique setting to play some awesome TTRPGs.
It's really a celebration of art, artists, writers, performers, all the artists that are in front of the camera, and artists that support them by doing things behind the camera, the set designers, the makeup artists, the sculptors, the muralist. We really want to differentiate the extroverted bards and the introverted bards, because all of them are bards and they're all valuable. And we want to make sure that everyone can play in this world in that way.
So how did the idea for this product gestate, come about?
Well, I've been doing a live stream on the D&D Twitch channel for about 4 years. It's called Sirens. It used to be called Sirens of the Realms. Now it's just Sirens. And we actually start a new season, a brand new storyline. So it's not even a new season. It's like a whole new story. We even have a new siren. It's Alicia Marie. We're very excited to have her.
She's awesome.
So we're starting that Friday, the day after our launch of this. So, I had this idea of, and it was really taglines. I'm from Hollywood. I'm a comic book artist and also a screenwriter. So I'm thinking tagline, what is the tagline that would get me? Because I need something to really hook me. And it was an all-girl bard band on tour in the realms. So it's like, how do you explore a world? You explore it through touring. That's how I do it. I have my, European tour. Next year, we're going on a world tour because I want to go to new cities and meet new people. So that's what they're doing. And when it was with Dungeons and Dragons, it was touring and kind of getting to know the Sword Coast. Now we've taken it out of there, and now they're touring through Salvata. So it came from that and has blossomed and grown into something so much bigger, and even bigger than the Sirens themselves. So the Sirens is just a band that is one of many bands from the Spy Master Vlanya Umvara, which is a character I invented when I was 12 years old. And now she's like this super badass, kind of like Cher, David Bowie, Prince, Lady Gaga style character, but she also is very intelligent and she's really like a defender of good and has a spy network of decadent, performers who will go in and infiltrate. So the Sirens are one of them. And we introduce you. You are one of her amazing spy bands or groups of performers. You don't have to play a musical instrument to be a bard. That she is called out to come and help save the city.
Oh, wow, that's fascinating.
That's amazing, and I love it.
Yeah, because you can have your own. Yeah, right. Like you can have your own band. It doesn't have to be called Sirens.
Oh.
You don't have to be singers. You could be a troupe of mimes. Or I like the idea that it's like a bunch of barbarians who are not even bards, and they just are like stomp.
Yeah, progression based.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was literally just going to say like stomp. I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
this is 100%. Love it.
That's awesome.
So can you tell me anything more about how the product services different classes and allows you to kind of create your own band or what have you?
Absolutely, yeah. And so we really want to kind of approach it that, again, although we have 10 bard subclasses, and so you could have like a warrior or a fighter, take a subclass in bard. You don't have to either. You could just be a wizard, and you could use your magical powers to do pyrotechnics or just do cool art. One of the things, again, how we've woven it into the story, you come in under this guise of creating a band, really to infiltrate the city. So with Lonnie as a spy master, you come in as a band really as kind of the pretense of why you're here. Calrath, and he's kind of the grand leader of the city. He's a divination wizard, and so he kind of has his eye on everything and can kind of understand how kind of the fate lines work. And so Vlania, being this wonderful spy master, said, okay, if I bring bands in, we'll be able to actually kind of fly under the radar to thwart the Emerald Cabal, which is kind of the nemesis of the group. And the Emerald Cabal are trying to open up this portal at the top of the city and call down a deity of their choosing instead of the deity that the city and the population actually want to call in. And so yeah, go ahead, jump in, Benjamin.
This is just interesting to me because typically, like, D&D is not my primary flavor of role-playing games because the things I like are investigation, mystery, subterfuge.
That's us. That's what we do.
Yeah, it certainly is sounding more like that. And again, one of my questions was going to be, what do the characters do? But I think you're kind of answering that. And so it almost sounds like a war of spies. Is that accurate or no?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's not even just your adventuring group. Like Vlania's created this entire network throughout the 10 discs of Salvata. If you've seen the pictures, it's a vertical city. We actually have altered gravity on the inside of the center pillar. So it's a beautiful garden, but also that's how you move up and down through the different discs, since they're very strict on who goes into what disc and for how long. So, yeah, it's each disc has, I can't remember what the question was, but I'm really excited about
keep going. It's good.
Please continue. Tell us about the city.
Yeah, so there's 10 discs and they're districts, and each district has a different theme, but I think I was talking about the nobles. The nobles are usually live up on the higher discs, and the working class live on the lower discs. But even more than that, like this city is such a celebration of art and culture that the first and second discs are kind of like Disneyland, so it's like, look at the shiny awesomeness that features. I don't know if you've ever been to Epcot, but Epcot's one of my favorite places in Orlando. It's like it showcases the different discs, but we know when there's a lot of light and beauty and fun, there's a really darkness. So we really took the story and ripped it all the way. So you've got your normal light and your normal dark that people play in, but we just stretched it out. So it's like really dark. The nobles are really infiltrating, siphoning the holy magic out of this wellspring, and the working class are kind of like feeling the repercussions of it.
So the product that put Apotheosis Studios on my radar was the Red Opera, and that was obviously a campaign, but it was also way more than a campaign. Is this also way more than just a campaign?
Absolutely, yeah. So we actually have the press proof.
I'm so excited about
where is
this.
it? It's somewhere else.
Oh, it's right here.
Take your time.
Yeah, here it is. Yeah. So this is the press proof of the Red Opera right here. We're actually super excited about it. It came out really beautifully, we think.
Oh, that is
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Cool
Yeah.
hammered paper.
Yeah, hammered
you
metal
pull it
paper on it. I
closer?
don't know if you guys can
Ooh.
see in the middle,
Oh,
but
yeah.
so
I can practically touch it.
I know, right? Yeah. So we're collectors. We enjoy really epic collector's editions and things like that. So we wanted to create both a campaign and setting that had 20 adventures in that, and Sirens will also have 20 adventures, a full orchestral soundtrack. We even have recipes of foods of the Shadelands. That's where the Red Opera is set. And we've really tried to lean in to have our campaigns and settings be as immersive as physically possible. And so when my team and I and Satine and her team as well all came together to make Sirens Battle of the Bards, we said, okay, what can we take from what we learned from the Red Opera and just do it better and just iterate on top of it and evolve this concept of really building a setting and location in a city that is as immersive and vibrant as physically possible, and have a kind of a central core story that then branches out based on player agency with multiple endings. So we had multiple endings in the Red Opera, which is available now if people want to check it out at theredopera.com. And we've leaned in and actually doubled down on that with Sirens Battle of the Bards. And so not only do we have multiple endings, but we also have a kind of renown and faction system too. I really love, so it'll track, and the GM, and we have a really easy to use guide so the GM can track it, and they can either track it on the GM screen if they want, or just on pencil and paper, however they see fit, to be able to know how all the different factions in the city react to your band. And it's, again, your kind of infiltration group into the city.
Yeah, and even further, we've taken this as an opportunity to kind of utilize some of my GM tips. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but GM tips on Geek and Sundry. We are working on mechanics to allow your players to work together and encourage them to work together. This is an uplifting story. When we play D&D, we want to be heroes, right? And they have to face some dark things. So by the time they get together and are going into the city, you've already created your session 0 backstory, which we actually have like key tips on how to do. You created your band name, you created a whole history of how you can bond together, because we want you to focus not on trusting each other. You should already be doing that. We want you to focus on working together. And so I do a thing, my own house rule is triple advantage. So what happens if 2 players want to go at the same time, or 3 players want to go at the same time? Not only do they get triple advantage because they're all actually working together and making a plan, which is what we all want them to do, right?
Yes.
But also, exactly, teamwork, band teamwork. But we also allow them to alter the things that they do so it's cohesive, and they can feel that sense of camaraderie and that they actually work together. And when you do that enough times, they will keep working together, and then your encounters move faster, they think faster, and they actually react to one another and the game master, and everybody's filled with elation. Even if a player falls because they, went below 0 in hit points, you still have this like majority uplifting feeling when you're playing these games.
It really sounds like you're fixing one of the things that I think of as maybe a problem in D&D is too harsh. But again, the kind of play that I enjoy, D&D does not service particularly well. Very social, very political. Again, when you say faction play, I'm really into that. When you say session 0, I'm really interested in that. Like I interviewed Chris Lindsay on the podcast maybe 2 years ago from Wizards of the Coast. And towards the end of the interview, I very gently suggested that maybe, just maybe, D&D wasn't well suited to social play, and he took extreme exception to that. I was like, "What are you talking? No, D&D is fine for that." And I was like, "Okay, man, okay, I'm not going to push this too hard here." But it's nice to hear that it sounds like you're doing rule design that will allow D&D to maybe be a game more suited to my style of play. So you've definitely got the hook in my mouth there. But I've been too much talking. Sarah, you want to talk for a while?
Yes. So I 100% love Bards. I've actually been in a actual play podcast that we've been doing for like 2 years, and we call her a war drummer, and she's a bard fighter, and it's amazing, and I love it, and it's super fun, and it's great. What is your favorite bard multi-class?
Okay, well, I could talk about what already exists, or I could talk about some of the subclasses that we're offering in the book. So I'm going to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. This is really cool. So we have a university in Salvata, and I actually went to art school for 5 years. I did 3D animation, 2D animation, stop motion animation. Then I went into sculpture and then basic classical illustration. So having done that for 5 years, understanding how intense that is and how amazing that is, we kind of did that with this. So we've got the College of Anatomy, and this is your physical performers, right? You got your mimes, you have your, you've got your aerialists, you know, you've got your bodybuilders who their body is their art and craft, and their body can inspire people. I point to my husband for all of you people in podcast land.
Satine, could you apply an adjective to your husband for the people that are just listening to this?
I mean, he's godlike in his
godlike
his anatomy.
Great.
Adonis,
I'll take it.
For listeners at home, he just gave us he gave us 2 tickets to the gun show when she said godlike. I'll stop.
Cut.
Okay. I'm fine. I apologize for objectifying you. Please continue.
Oh no, it's fine.
Hard-hitting questions here on Plot Points. Hard-hitting questions.
How attractive is your husband? Tell us more.
1,000 million.
Chiseled.
This is great. Can we make this a weekly interview? Can we come back once a week?
I'm actually sweating right now. That's
fantastic.
But I do like he inspires me every day, and then we go to the gym. He actually inspires other people, and watching that is amazing. We've got Alicia Marie playing the new Siren, and she's playing College of Anatomy. She's an aerialist, so she has an immovable rod that she uses. She clicks a button, it actually turns into a hoop. So she's a hoop aerialist. Yeah. And instead of having verbal components, she doesn't need verbal components. It's a real hindrance for, like, I don't know, people who are deaf that want to play D&D. That's not fair. So this way it's utilizing your body. When I was 12, my best friend was deaf. So we actually, like, I know sign language, and was able to even use sign language in the dark with her. So where there's a will, there's a way. And this is a way for people who are very physical, belly dancers, martial artists, who use it as an art to inspire and evoke and communicate.
And I can add too, from that perspective, and I think Alicia Marie's character is a good one, and I try to do with my characters too. From this College of Anatomy, it's great because there's 2 sides of it. One is you can use it as an art form, and the second is you can actually use it as a battle technique. When you really understand how anatomy functions in yourself and your opponent, you can leverage that to your ability when actually in a combat encounter. And so we're trying to show how bards can both be, performance-based and combat-based too, for people who really enjoy fighting in Dungeons and Dragons or in any 5th edition campaign. So it can be both in a yes and.
Yeah, he's been doing this while we're playing our game, our couples D&D game on my Twitch, where he's because he's a real life martial artist, he's teaching me the things that he does while he would be fighting and how that would work in the D&D world. It's been really, really informative.
Yeah, I think people forget that bards can be pretty vicious in combat, and it just depends on how you want to play them, and you just need to get to know what you're doing, and vicious mockery is the best thing ever.
Yeah, and the other one that we have is College of Geometry. So I love math, and I love sacred geometry. I mean, dice, platonic solids, amazing, right?
Right.
So we actually built the city, the grand architect, who is, he is a bard, right? He created it using the Metatron's cube. I don't know why I keep forgetting. It's like our favorite image, So it's this like beautiful way, an artistic way of being an introverted bard, right? So maybe you're not on the battlefield doing the things like outwards. You're actually crafting things or able to like mold earth in ways that you'd be able to use in battle, creating shields or structures. But this is a great bard to create traps, you know, and even further, we've got like a jewelry bard. This would be under the College of Geometry. And we're really we see a lot of subclasses that are like, I want a cool bard, and this is going to be my bard tender, which bard tenders are cool and will be in the book, but that's not the subclass. The subclass is the greater, like, how do the mechanics create these types of bards? So, like, for instance, we have a tattoo bard, you know, so that would be underneath a college versus the College of Tattooing, you know, that's so yeah, we like bard multi-class.
Sorry, I just have to jump in. Bard tender is an amazing pun. I love that so much.
Yeah, I did. Bards love, super love. That was great. So a little not related to D&D, and it's a little towards Satine, but Jamison, you are definitely welcome to answer as well. Who is your favorite Doctor, and what was the moment when you knew it was your favorite?
Well, obviously David Tennant. I don't even like. Is that a thing? Is there any other Doctor than that?
I like David Tennant too. I think.
See, I'm kind of a Capaldi girl.
No, I love Capaldi. I don't know if you guys know, but I am obsessed with Doctor Who, and I could go, this is a whole other show, honestly, because I could go on why Capaldi was good, why the writing wasn't good, who was the best writers, when did it start melting down, story arcs, like we could have that conversation. I convinced my mother, because my name is Sarah Jane, and I was like, Mom, can I tell people that you named me after the fourth Doctor's companion? Yeah. She's like, you know that's not true, right? I'm like, yeah, but can I tell people? They don't know that.
I'm like, they don't know that. She's like, yeah, if you want. So yeah, I'm like, I am Whovian.
Yeah. I really appreciate that. It was a very important question. I'm really glad you got that in the universe.
Yeah, Tennant's great. Like, he's just a great actor in general. And like Matt Smith is quite lovely. Like they're all great. Like there's not really a bad actor.
You can't see it here, but I have a Dalek about this big that until I moved into our house, it was in my bathroom. When
I love it.
The doors, just like, here's this Dalek, and it was the Imperial Dalek from the Mars, like the very first, like the black and white.
Yeah,
it's got the plungers on it.
Perfect
for the bathroom.
Yeah, I got a replica of the TARDIS, like the old 1964 TARDIS light. My obsession was so bad, I had to stop collecting, and that was the only thing that I like kept. I have a whole box, like multiple boxes of Doctor Who items that I had to not put up in my house, but I also couldn't get rid of.
I have that with Next Generation Star Trek action figures.
That's his.
TNG is my favorite show of all time.
Yeah, I have multiple times I've tried to say hello to Will Wheaton, but I've just like vapor locked and been like, and like wasn't able to even get within 5 feet of him because I'm just like, it's Will Wheaton. Oh my
He's
God.
Also very sweet.
That's what I've heard because everybody else I know has met him and said hi to him, and I'm just like too much of a fangirl to say hi. But yeah, Doctor Who is just so good, and Star Trek, love it so much.
Well, you nailed both of our fandoms. So.
Oh, good, that's fantastic. I love it. Yeah, I'm huge Trekkie, huge Whovian. Like those are my two things of like if I could only have two shows on in a deserted island, I'd be like Star Trek and Doctor Who. That's it. And I would be perfectly happy for the rest of my life. So yay, that's awesome. So another thing kind of goes into it, D&D time this time. Who, for each of you, who is your favorite person to game with and why is it Amy Vorpal?
How did you know?
She's adorable.
Yeah, she's so creative. I honestly think she's the funniest woman I've ever met in my life. And that's like, and Maude Garrett's like right up there too. So like the two of them are really funny. Both of them are on the first seasons of Sirens. So Amy Vorpal played Khalib, and it was a character that was a planeswalker from Ravnica. And she played a jackal person, and it was really cool. She nailed it. So, I mean, obviously it's my Sirens. I love playing with my Sirens. they bring music and they delight each other and they're cooperative. And when somebody's feeling down, they all jump in to uplift them. So I would have to say my sirens.
Aw.
My answer is really easy. It's playing with Satine. So
I miss Dungeon
that's
Master.
that's an easy one.
Aw.
Yeah. Couples D&D.
It's really fun.
On Satine's Twitch channel. We have a weekly show, and it's just fantastic. So yeah, I would highly encourage people to check it out.
Yeah, I'll have to
Satine's
check it out definitely because.
Amazing game master.
Thank you, honey.
Yeah. So that's
Aw, that's adorable. Like Brad and I game together, and it's usually
I'm the loud one.
Yeah.
So like she has to like sit away from me.
yeah.
She's
I'm like I can't sit next to him. So I guess like how do you make it work as a married couple gaming together? Like
It's
do you have
really
days?
hard. It's really hard not to just want to make out with him the whole time. Like, you know, that's the only complication. But really, we're both cosplayers and we're both really into gaming. So, you know, when I'm joking, really. I mean, I'm not joking because I do. But it is really nice to just be characters with him. Yesterday, we recorded a bunch of commercials for the bardbook.com and we were in character, full costume, and it was so easy. We just like went through all these different scenarios, and it's just we are so creative. It's ain't no thing.
Yeah, it's funny for me too because with her as the game master, I really try to see what I can get away with. Of like I've been, it's like well, maybe I can get high. And I like do the math in my head. I'm like, I bet she'd let me do this, but not this other thing. So I'll kind of like shoot high, knowing that we'll compromise low. It's kind of just like a marriage in general, I guess.
And then sometimes like he'll ask you to do something, and I won't say anything, but I'll give him a look, knowing what look that is. He's like, oh no, did I make the wrong decision? And in my head, I'm like, he should totally make this decision, but I see the fear in his eyes. And I'm just like,
I know she straight up will kill me on stream too. So it's like, I don't know. Sorry to interrupt. I don't know if you're.
No, that's perfectly fine. Yeah, that's like you get the look and you're just like. Yeah, it's so much fun to have somebody to game with all the time, though. Like as much as I say I can't sit next to Brad when we're gaming, just it's lovely to know you've at least got somebody that you can talk to games about all the time.
oh, that's all we do is talk about games. All we do.
Right.
And now I was showing our daughter, my stepdaughter, his daughter, and now our daughter. I was showing her our minis and the Kickstarter video where I'm singing on it. And she turns to me and says, where's my magic?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, here we go.
Yeah,
Let's
she,
make
yeah.
you
Yeah, she
your
wanted a character in a mini too.
Yeah.
So we're
we got to design that.
Designing
Oh,
her
that's
character.
fantastic. How
But
old is she?
She's almost 4. She turns 4 very soon.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a
so
great
she's-
age.
Yeah.
She's like 3.5.
Yeah.
Oh, she's very
Aw.
smart, and
Yeah.
she has her own set of dice that encountered dice made for her.
Yeah, it's
Aw.
really,
so
really cute.
cute.
Little mini dice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's got the tiny size. And also, we just picked up from Playground Adventures one of their, I think it's for 3 to 4 year olds.
Mhm.
Their adventures. They do adventures based on the age ranges of kids.
Oh, that's
So,
nice.
Yeah, and we're talking with them right now about like what would a bard adventure be, you know?
Yeah,
And
if we were to do it for younger audience, just
Yeah.
a kind of a side quest within the book for for players who have kids. Yeah.
yeah.
Right, because I mean, we're getting old and people have kids now. And I mean, I can't wait until Ben's child gets old enough to game and our friend Rob, who I think you've actually played D&D with Rob Wieland before.
Yeah, he's
Yes.
great.
Yeah, his daughter is about 4 or 5 right now. And we're just like, yes, can't wait until she's going to be DMing us. Yeah, it's a big thing right now because we're all getting to the age where we have kids. So
Yeah.
you got to
and
bring them
this-
into it.
Absolutely. This book is like, it's an intense book, you know, but you, the game master, can actually, like, we tell you like these are our adventures, but you can take these adventures and you can play them more uplifting sounding or darker or neutral, whatever is good for your table. Not only that, like we suggest starting at tier 2. I like tier 2s better. I usually just skip over like the first 3 or 4 chapters when I get an adventure, like a book. So now you don't have to do that. You could just start in chapter 1, but also you can start with tier 2 or tier 3 or tier 4. We've actually designed it, and this is really important to us, to design a story so epic that you can play it at tier 4 or tier 2. And really what changes, it's nuances in the bad guys, right? But
Right.
no matter what you are, you're going to get that feeling. The campaign actually takes place over a 10-day. And this 10-day can last you in IRL, like, I don't know, a year, a year and a half.
Year's worth of content, even if you play weekly, if you want to do absolutely every single thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
all the
that's
DLC.
super fun. Like, just
Yeah.
being, I'm a super completist when it comes to video games, so I'm like,
Red
yes.
Opera is this thick. And
Yeah,
I
this
think
is
Sirens gonna be-
320 pages.
320 pages just in Red Opera alone.
We-
There's a lot of content.
We have the free sample, and that's going to be about 30 to 40 pages
Yeah.
as well.
Awesome.
So it's got the history of Salvata, some characters, and chapter 1, so that you can actually play it, and
so people can actually check it out. So if they go
Yeah.
to thebardbook.com, when our Kickstarter is live, they'll be able to actually download the first chapter for free, and a bunch of introductory information about all the characters and the setting. So you can actually run the game right now.
right now. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yes. Hey, Ben.
Since
hey,
you
Brad.
mentioned the Kickstarter, and I know this when this is released, our audience will be able to go to the Kickstarter.
Yay!
Can you tell us anything about the Kickstarter right now? What do people get? What are some of the perks? What are you excited about?
Everything.
absolutely.
But go ahead, honey.
We put again, we really believe in our campaigns, and so we really wanted to have people be able to actually see it just like 2 clicks, and then you get to see exactly what's in the book. So I'd highly encourage people to download the free sample, check it out, skim through it, play with your friends. But we also have really amazing partners with some of our other, kind of geeky merchandise. Again, we're like Uber collectors, and so
You can't see, but
I know,
this
I don't
shelf
think you see-
actually
yeah.
goes up.
Yeah, the shelf goes
So
up.
those
Yeah,
are like
there's four in the
statues
other
up there.
rooms,
We've
like-
got 3 or 4 different libraries.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
my dice collection, I'm sure you
Yeah.
can imagine,
Dice,
is
minis,
pretty
everything.
big.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see you and I both have a love for level up dice. So,
yeah.
Well, that is one of our partners.
Tell them about the custom shaped
Oh my
dice.
gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are transmutation dice. So
Ooh.
basically, we've custom designed shapes that are bard themed. So essentially, they look like little statues. They're this ivory with gold numbering. And you've got a D4 that is a lute, so it's long and you roll it that way. You've got a D6 that it's not just your, regular, square. It actually is a series of books that are askew. We just love the design of this. We created it in, CG,
Yeah.
but the best one. Oh no, 2. They're all good. We've got the inkwell and the pen, right? And those are your percentile.
Yep,
Oh,
that's
shut! That's amazing.
I know, right? So they actually, you can visually see that they will go together. But the best, I think this is the best,
Okay.
is the mic drop. So you've got a mic. I know this isn't fantasy, but it was so cool.
We
We
could
had to
not
do
do
Oh
it.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's got to be a magic something that is a mic. It's perfect. It's
I know, this is so cool. So it's a mic, and it has 20 sides, and it also, I don't know if you've seen Level Up's unicorn dice. But
yes,
it
I
kind
love
of
them.
functions that way, where
Okay.
instead of it being your D20 that you're normally used to, it more rolls on its side, and because one end is tapered,
Mhm.
it won't roll off. It'll just kind of go in circles until
Right,
it lands. So yeah,
And
So we want-
very excited.
Is that available through the Kickstarter?
It is.
Yes.
Yeah. As an add-on,
Nice.
so people can add them on.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
there's 3 different sets of dice that we're doing with Level Up. There is ones that are your normal set of dice. That one is in resin. The other one are these custom shapes, but they come in ivory, or not ivory. They come in white, and they come in a aluminum, but brass colored aluminum.
Yeah.
Cool.
Brad,
Yeah.
can we do the Kickstarter?
Of course.
Oh.
But
That
of
sounds
course,
awesome. Like, of course.
what are you gonna keep your fancy new dice in? Well, you're gonna keep them in wormwood. So
Oh yeah, like for sure.
what were you gonna say?
I would say, the word Master Vault. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Does it look like a guitar case? Because that would be
no,
perfect.
no,
Absolutely. That'd be cool.
we have something equally as awesome. So we have the Master Vault, and we have the personal tray. So they come in cherry wood with a wood burn,
Yeah.
and then my favorite is Purple Heart. And so it's Purple
Yes!
Heart with
Yes.
brass inlay.
With brass
Oh,
inlay.
yes.
Of a top-down version of Salvata City that also doubles as Metatron's cube.
Yeah. So
Oh,
Oh, that's
what we
cool.
did
That's awesome.
is the platonic solids are missing the D10, I think. So I built in a D10 because if you see in the Gilding Light logo, it's the golden ratio.
Don't tell Plato.
Yeah.
Or Pythagoras.
Don't tell him.
Yeah.
Don't tell him.
Don't tell him.
We slipped it in
And he
there.
slipped it in there. But it's really cool. It was really nice to design. So I've also been a graphic designer for about 10, 15 years. And so being able to put my own art into this as well has been, along with our amazing artists, has been really cool. So the tray, the personal tray, actually is printed on vegan leather, the city. So you can actually see the city right now. We have posted it. I know
Yeah.
we posted a lot.
And the Kickstarter's live now.
Oh, yeah,
for
it's
this.
live.
So yeah, you can go right there and see right. So you can take your level up dice and literally roll into the city in your Wormwood dice tray. It's again, we're Uber collectors, and so
And it has to make sense, right? So,
Right.
you know, we like to form and function. We want both those to be awesome. And I did a lot of packaging when I was a graphic designer. So this is just, you know, us leveling up. How can we hold and keep everything in a place and also show off these items? So you can put your dice in these custom master vaults. We also have campaign coins. So we've got 2 different kinds of campaign coins. There's your Dungeon Master triple advantage campaign coin that I designed. It's the D20 with the Satine logo and 3 gems because
Which, by the way, it's a beautiful logo. I saw the custom
thank
set.
you.
It's beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you. And then it's the coin of Salvata, which is the Metatron's cube with the city, and on the other side it's more illustrative and
kind of like bardic, like filigree.
bardic filigree. But the cool thing about these is, of course, we're not, one thing isn't just one thing, right? So we have this well to represent the wellspring, the holy wellspring of Salvata. So we have a place for you to put your bardic inspiration die in the coin and slide it over to your player.
Oh,
or
shut
to your
up.
players.
Yeah.
I'm
they know that
done.
they have because sometimes those dice, they just kind of get lost on the table. You're like, oh, is that just, you know, a random die? You're like, no, this is your bardic inspiration. You've been inspired.
Yeah. And as storytellers, you know, we're not just crafting like the words in the book, we're crafting the experience. You know, we do things like, we do things like D&D in a castle where you are inside of the world. So the Dungeon Master screen is a vision of the city and some of the NPCs that you'll run into, so that when you're playing at the table, because we're going to be playing at this table, you'll be able to do that as well. And we have minis. We have some of the coolest minis I had ever seen. You want to talk about the minis? I'm just talking a lot.
Absolutely. So we currently have samples of, these are our Red Opera minis. And so they're full color, 3D printed. We're working with mixed dimensions.
Wow.
That's lovely.
Yeah, we're some of the only people actually who are in the TTRPG setting currently that are working with them. And so we're really excited to bring super high detailed miniatures of all of our main NPCs and sirens. And it's, again, like we want to have the project be as immersive as possible so people can really feel like they're part of the world.
One thing that people have said about D&D 5th edition is, we want more. Why haven't you released every setting that ever existed for D&D in 5th edition by now? And it seems
Planescape.
Exactly. And it seems like you're really leaning into that. Oh, you wanted more? You wanted more? Well, here's your more. And it, like, I think back to the 90s when I would open up a TSR product and it would be like Christmas morning with, maps and tokens and counters. And it seems like you guys are really leaning into that same urge, which is absolutely fantastic. But Brad had some questions about Bards. Is that right, Brad?
Yeah, I had a couple here. So like in some of the groups that I started playing with, and of course I played way back in the day, and as you kind of go through, it's like, yeah, we're going to have a Bard and someone's going to play a Bard, and everybody's like, oh man, here we go. Like that Bard is going to be like the one out in front of everybody. Woo, and like, of course, hitting on everybody. I guess that's kind of been the common trope. And I'm curious to see what you two feel about that. And how do you either play into that or away from that? I'm just kind of curious on your GM thoughts on that.
Yeah, man. it's like this thing that's been through history of this game. I've been playing for 32 years. And until recently, until I just put a flag in the ground and said, bards are going to be cool. Every time I brought that up, it was womp, 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 you know?
Oh, it's all puns. Woo. Like,
Yeah,
like,
you know,
oh.
there are. We want to both lean into that and yes, and that with, like I said before, introverted and extroverted bards. You know, you've got your writer bard, and really you got to stop. Think about what is a bard. A bard is an artist. And what do artists do? They are there to communicate and evoke an emotion, whether that is attracting or repelling. Those are like kind of like the two different things. So you can do that with your Harlequin romance novelist. You can do that with your jewelry maker, your tattoo artist, people that are quiet, that don't want to be out there, but still want to support. You can have, what are some other bards?
I really like the tattoo artist bard. So and particularly from like a gameplay perspective, and it doesn't have to be a player character. It can be an NPC too. So my character, and he's also a part of Siren's Battle of Bards, and in our couples D&D, his name's Vajra. He's a battle mage, and I've kind of had to bring him into 5th edition, kind of paladin sorcerer combo. But he has tattoos, and these tattoos, I like cosplay him every day. These are real tattoos. And so how we have the character, he has gone through this arduous training and has these actually imbued into his body, and they are like magical filaments inside of him. Nice. And so a character could go to Salvata, talk to a tattoo bard that could then instill, you know, potentially an additional cantrip, you know, stats increases. And what a unique way for an artist to have a permanent effect on your character. And if you wanted as a really interesting backstory, that could be a character that you yourself play, that you could then either do to other people or yourself, that your magic is derived from self-inflicted tattoos. Just a really unique way of taking, how do you make an artist and then have that have an actual effect on your gameplay or your setting and world?
Yeah, how do you like inspire your allies? Maybe you're doing AoE, you know, inspiration effects. You can do temporary tattoos, you can do henna. Yeah. And so maybe you're on the battlefield and now you're the one who's activating it, basically like putting a bomb on your friend so that they can wield it. Or to the point of, I got a tattoo on, I don't have one, but my character could get a tattoo on my tongue so that she can speak multiple languages, little things like that. Tattoos on fingers so that they can forge better, feet so they can walk faster.
I like the origami bard. I believe that was part of Sirens, where she would create origami characters and then like breathe them into life, and then they would then go and do things out on the battlefield or in a kind of a setting encounter. But Brad, as you're saying, I think a lot of people, you know, when they see that high charisma score, they kind of can play around with it, you know, for, you know, romantic encounters. And not to say you can't do that if you want, but I think that there's so many ways to play and to role play. It doesn't have to be just that. So we're trying to give people the opportunity to lean into some other really cool high charisma, you know, role play potential.
And even moving it out of that, right? Because, you know, yes, you can be a high charisma bard and just kind of, you don't have to be loud to have high charisma. I mean, how many people are you attracted to that don't say anything, right? But even moving out of that, now you've got your College of Anatomy, and that's more dex based. You know, you have your College of Geometry, that's more intelligence based. So being able to move around how a bard functions and not locking the bard into that charisma based character.
Exactly, that's a good point. We don't have how we have our subclass set up. It doesn't have to just be bound to charisma. We really lean into more the art form of it. It can be based in multiple different types.
I really like that. I really appreciate the fact that you're kind of expanding the range, because it seems to be like everybody always just gravitates toward, okay, I have high charisma, I have to do whatever. And that also ties in kind of to my next question of like how mechanically you tied that into your world, how that goes. And you kind of talked a little bit like it's you're using your dex base as kind of part of it as instead of just charisma. So I guess maybe what other types of mechanics have you kind of modified or tweaked to build
really
that?
Good question.
Yeah, so imagine you're going to a city where everyone's got high charisma. Like, I don't know, Los Angeles, right? That's where I'm from, San Francisco and Los Angeles. And I've spent enough time there that you have to be clever in order to stand out from these types of people. You know, some people use their charisma for good and some for bad. Even our herald.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about the herald. I think that kind of gives you a good vision of how you have to think differently if you're fighting someone like this.
Absolutely. So the herald is one of our NPC, kind of one of the bad guys. He literally heralds the coming of kind of his, I don't want to give too much away, but kind of his boss, I guess. I don't know if you want to put it that way. And he's a charisma based caster, and so you know, he's very beautiful, but he's also like incredibly evil. And so we've leaned into this, you know, as him as a charisma based caster. What does that look like? Instead of this being this, like, you know, kind of grotesque lich, you know, creature, this, you know, very beautiful male, like illustrative, you know,
majestic.
Yeah, majestic enemy. Yeah, exactly.
Speaks very eloquently, and
about how he should destroy the city.
And you're like, I don't know.
Maybe.
Maybe
Kind of got a point a
He's
little
got
bit.
some points.
Yeah.
Maybe,
But to answer your question though, we've worked really hard to particularly if people want to roll kind of more standard bards in the city of how to balance skill checks so it makes sense, so they're not just steamrolling really high charisma rolls, and trying to balance it out, and so people don't feel really locked into just having that be their primary stat. Also around performance too, understanding that when these characters perform, they don't have to just have a high performance, you know, like rating. It's not just performance.
Yeah, what are they actually doing?
Right.
You know, so if they are I like to say barbarian because everyone loves barbarians. If they're going to like hit a drum, what are they really doing? They're actually using their hitting.
They're striking.
They're
It's an
striking.
attack.
They're
Yeah.
attacking it.
Yeah.
So then they would do that. If somebody is using spells, they're going to be using that to perform. So versus,
it's not a performance check. It's whatever action that they would do normally.
because it's
So, like,
kind of boring when you're like, roll a
Just roll
performance check.
performance.
Yeah,
roll a
I-
performance check,
Roll-
roll-
I was just gonna say that it always seems to be like, and roll your performance check, and roll your performance check.
Yeah, I can see
Yeah.
that. So like the College of Anatomy, if you have someone who's an aerialist, acrobatics. If they're more magic based, you have like your arcana.
or their spells, right? So if they're
right,
they
yeah.
can use their, and I've been doing this a lot. I did it with the guild. You can use your spells to perform, so you don't even have to roll a check. You're actually rolling your spell.
On stage, yeah. So
Yeah.
if they
That's
want
cool.
to, you know, kind of enthrall the crowd, or, you know, put on a grand performance, they can actually use their spells and abilities. I would go with
Like that.
cantrips, just because you can use them multiple times in case there is a combat that sideswipes you when you're not expecting
He
it.
plays with me a lot. That's why.
Yeah.
This is like the meta game where you're not like metagaming what you know in the game. You're metagaming because you know your dungeon.
Yes.
I know that you know that I know.
100% know what that's like.
I like that.
100%.
And I guess you could also, you know, there's also that fact that you are performing as well. You talked about like you're performing, but you're rolling different stuff, and it immediately made me think of marching band, because I marched for 12 years in a marching band, and it was very, very much like, yes, you're performing the music, but you're also a very physical presence on the field, and had to be very precise with your mathematical geographic or geolocations and stuff. So
And for something like that, you have to be so in harmony with everyone around you too. And so we've really tried to lean into have the players really rely on their team members to have that level of unity that I'm sure you had to do in marching band.
yeah, if you've ever had to listen across 50 yards for a flute for your
Oh man, that sounds complicated.
it is rough.
I
And
had
you are a French horn
flashback.
player or a mellophone, but yeah, it's rough. It's rough.
And that's something else that we put in. So this is something I learned from live streaming. So a lot of the stuff that we're putting into this is from like the tips and tricks that I've been doing for the last 4 or 5 years. And that's like, you're a bard, right? You're singing your things. If you're going to heal, the person over there needs to hear you. So it's not just these things like I cast blah, blah, blah. I cast such and such. It's I'm casting this. I'm saying this. I'm making this noise in order to do it. You have to be able to hear. And if you're in a battle, that's going to affect your range.
And I guess the last question I have, and it sounds probably silly and completely out of left field, but so Jack Black has taught me that the demon code prevents them from declining a rock off challenge. And in my head, I've always gone with that. How would you run the Rock Off challenge?
Oh man, I absolutely love Tenacious D. and
Yeah.
I
Oh,
love
yeah.
Jack Black.
Huge fans.
It's the best.
It's my favorite gift to use with my team of him just like rocking out. It's just so good. Yeah, so I think you can absolutely never turn that down. And I would say that in Siren's Battle of the Bard there is some demonic rocking off that happens of some really epic I don't know demon fighting and slaying that is both part musical and part fight for your life of it. This thing's trying to kill you. So yeah, enthusiastic, yes.
So if people are interested in your current Kickstarter, they can go to Kickstarter right now and just put Sirens into the search bar, right?
Yeah, if they put in Sirens Battle of the Bards, yeah, it'll definitely pop up. Or you can just go right to thebardbook.com and it'll carry over. Yeah.
And if people are interested in other things from Apotheosis Studios, where should they go?
So you go to apotheosisstudios.com, or if you're interested in our last campaign book, The Red Opera, you can just go to theredopera.com. I think it also correlates to if you do thewarlockbook.com.
Oh.
Yeah.
It is a warlock themed campaign and setting.
And Satine, where can people find more of your work?
Twitch.tv/Satine Phoenix and satinephoenix.com and pretty much every social media of Satine Phoenix. I am everywhere.
Yeah, and I think Twitch is a really great place too.
Yeah, Twitch is a good one. So, you know, we were doing an entire Sirens series, so 6 weeks of the Sirens. And then on my birthday, closing day of the Kickstarter, May 22nd, we've created an epic. So we've got 6 or 7, I think it's 7 different games running, and I'm dungeon mastering all of them because this is what you do. But yeah, and that's all going to be on twitch.tv/Satine Phoenix.
I'd never considered DMing as an endurance sport before, but if that's how you roll.
We made it both a cooperative competitive event and an endurance sport.
So kind of like what is it, Iron GM at Gen Con?
Oh my gosh.
I actually worked with those guys before. This is more like your team and other teams are working towards a goal. However,
okay.
Which team can get the most points? So it's not about PvP at all. I do not ever want to see that. It's not a thing for D&D. It goes against all of my personal rules. But I do like to reward when a table's going to really dive into the story and just pick apart everything.
So Sarah, if people want to get back to us with questions or comments, how can they do that?
plotpointsemail@gmail.com. And you can also find us on Twitter at plotpointspod.
And hopefully this will be on YouTube, and we will put more content on YouTube after this. So if you find us amusing, please come back and find us on YouTube. Jamison, Satine, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to talk.
Thank you. This has been lovely. I'm so...
Thank you.
This is great.
Oh, this has been really fun for us too.